Hello, movie fans, and welcome to Real Movie Talk. This is the show where we talk everything films and the industry that surrounds them. I am your host, Deck, and with me, as always, is Ben.
Welcome to the podcast.
This is episode number 8 of Real Movie Talk. These are chugging along. We are moving along at quite a nice pace here. So, as always, we're going to go through all the week's news. Quite a quiet news week, to be fair. I was actually quite surprised, kind of like last week as well. Just a severe lack of news, really. And then we'll also be reviewing The Girl in the Spider's Web and also the new Robin Hood film. Yay.
Probably because it's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, obviously Thanksgiving going on in the US, quite a big holiday, so I think it was pretty quiet overall over that side of the pond. So let's start off. This was quite surprising news to start off with. Julie Andrews has been officially cast in Aquaman. I mean, that's amazing. I mean,
yeah, when I saw when I saw it, I was like, wow, that's incredible. You know, I'm a massive fan of Mary Poppins and her other work. Like, huh? When I was reading it, I was like, what?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like,
what?
She's such like an esteemed actress, such a truly classical actress in that sense that the fact that she's kind of come out as like, oh yeah, I'm in Aquaman, quite a big thing. What I find funny about it as well is obviously I don't know exactly how the release dates line up here in the UK exactly, but I know in the US obviously Aquaman is going directly up against the new Mary Poppins film. I think that's quite funny.
I don't think she's in that actually though, but
no,
yeah, it's still funny.
She said something about it, like she said like she felt she would have been too distracting if she was in it, which is a fair point. I think that's her kind of showing Emily Blunt quite a bit of respect there actually. Wanting the audience to focus on Emily Blunt's version and not thinking, oh yeah, there's Julie Andrews, and then forgetting about Emily Blunt. So I think that's quite a fair point. It's just the fact that Aquaman's coming out the same weekend. I think is really funny.
Yes.
We'll have to see what role she's going to play. I imagine it's not going to be anything substantial. The fact we haven't heard anything about it mustn't.
I heard rumors that it's like some sort of like monster or some sort of like creature.
What, like voiceover work?
It's someone, yeah, or maybe she's in prosthetics. I don't know, but I think it's some sort of underwater creature.
That'd be interesting. I can't imagine it would be anything too big, simply because obviously it's so late in the game. I mean, I imagine. Yeah, and I imagine because the movie's only a month away. It's pretty much exactly a month away from now. So, yeah, but this is a fantastic bit of casting. Didn't expect it at all, and I'm very excited to see where she lands. And another bit of casting we got is Keanu Reeves has been cast in Toy Story 4. This is also incredible news. I love Keanu Reeves. The last film I would have expected him to be in, especially considering he's coming off the John Wick films, is Toy Story 4. I don't know if you've seen all the mock-up posters from Boss Logic, like him killing Slinky Dog.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very, very good. So, yeah, I think this is a great bit of casting. Again, I can't wait to see what he plays. I mean, I do love all those posters where people are pretending it's like a John Wick actual action figure. That would be really funny. I think you have to do something like that, though. I think you have to do an action man type thing, or like an assassin type character. Like you have to do something, but obviously you have to keep it light as well, obviously because it is a family film at the end of the day. Yeah. I just think that's great.
Yeah, I don't know about Keanu Reeves because I'm watched much of his films, if I'm honest. Only really The Matrix. Never watched John Wick. So.
Oh really?
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. Exciting to see this massive cast sort of accumulating. Have you seen the cast? It's rather incredible.
It is, yeah. It's the way it's ever evolving. Obviously, we've got Keegan-Michael Key and
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, and I think the cast is ever growing. I think we're going to see more and more come in. We're going to get more and more announcements. So this is really exciting. And Keanu Reeves, who I've especially become a big fan of recently, in his resurgence as John Wick. John Wick 1 is such a surprising little action film that kind of came out of nowhere. John Wick 2 is just equally as good in my opinion. So excited for John Wick 3, which comes out next year. I just think that Keanu Reeves, he's had a real resurgence as of late, and seeing him in Toy Story 4, I think is just going to be a great little addition. So I'm excited about that. Just, again, really different, interesting casting, but one I'm very excited to see go forward. So Sony and all of their Marvel glory with their Sony universe of Marvel characters, as they're calling it, they have announced 3 new release dates. So the first one is October the 2nd, 2020, which is been officially announced as Venom 2. We kind of knew Venom 2 was coming they said that Tom Hardy had signed a 3-picture deal with them, and obviously Venom has been very financially successful. Kind of ridiculously financially successful. It's had quite a lot of legs. Like, it's been still making a lot of money, like, even now. So that's not entirely surprising. I still don't know if Venom 2 is necessarily a great idea, but we'll have to wait and see.
I was expecting this announcement, and I'm actually really happy. Like, when I came out of Venom, I was like, okay, I need this sequel. This is really fun. They can fix their problems if they actually do it right. And you've got that Carnage character that is, like, really intriguing. Like, that piqued my interest in that post-credit scene. So, you know, I'm all for this, and I was expecting the announcement soon because it's so financially successful. It's got, like, over 800 million. 800 already.
Yeah, I think it's over 800 million, worldwide, which is, you know, I never really expected it, especially because in the run up to it, it never seemed like there was anybody was like that excited about it. It didn't seem to have that much traction surrounding it. But then, you know, because it has such a weird marketing campaign. Even now, the way they're still like, if you look at like Sony's Twitter account, the Venom Twitter account, it's so strange. But the way that, you know, especially because like I work in marketing, and it's really strange, like the way they're doing it. It's just like I can't quite tell if they're doing it ironically or not. But it's strange, and I do really enjoy the fact that, you know, this movie has had such a success, especially because I was fine with Venom. Like, I thought, like, it was fun when I saw it. I enjoyed it, but it's just like I was kind of its flaws were very obvious to me at the same time. And I will admit though, that post credit scene, you know, with Carnage, and I definitely want to see Carnage in the sequel played by Woody Harrelson. I think that's another great bit of casting that I think would be really fun. Woody Harrelson's great as villain, so sure, I'll take it. We also got 2 more dates from them. These are unspecified, but that's July 10th of 2020 and November 2nd, 2020. So are you meaning to tell me that Sony are going to release 3 Marvel movies in 2020?
Yeah, probably. Like, why not? Like, that, if they can make it good. Like, I think after seeing the reviews for Venom, hopefully they take a step back and be like, okay, right, people are interested. Film, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. Like, I never really thought, like, you know, this success would come. And I mean, I hope they're not getting too ahead of the curve and they're not, you know, shooting themselves in the foot like Universal did. But I feel like just announcing all these dates. I mean, one of them is going to be Morbius, I imagine, because they said that was the next one on the list. And maybe the other one would be Kraven, maybe.
Yeah, apparently those are the ones in development as well as Venom. So
yeah, I have to admit, I'm pretty excited about a Kraven film. I like that. I do like that idea.
I don't really know the character, so I'm just excited for Venom, really, right now.
Yeah, I mean, Kraven, once again, just like Venom, is a character who's incredibly tied to Spider-Man. And obviously Spider-Man is not in this universe, so I wonder what they'll do. Also, I don't know where the rights lie, because I remember Ryan Coogler was talking about how he had original plans for Kraven to be... He was one of the villain choices for Black Panther. So is Kraven allowed in the MCU? Like, what's that?
Sony lets them.
Yeah.
It's like with their Spider-Man deal. It's only if they give them the rights.
Yeah, so it's strange, but I definitely would like to see a Kraven movie. Also, I think Silk is one of the ones they announced. I think that's a great idea as well. I'd love to see that. But I feel like in terms of Kraven, they probably, in terms of like Kraven's Last Hunt, if they were going to do that, because that's apparently what they're looking at, they'd probably replace Spider-Man with Venom, I imagine. Which would be fine, I guess. So we also got the official title for Birds of Prey. Now, I guess a lot of us just assumed it'd be called Birds of Prey, but it's called the Fantastical Emancipation of the One Harley Quinn, and that's a bit of a mouthful.
Like, I don't know. Isn't it like at the start? Doesn't it say Birds of Prey then that?
Yeah, so it's Birds of Prey and then whatever I just said. And it's a long title.
Obviously, it's like I think it's a reference to Birdman. You know that? Did you watch?
Yeah.
Iñárritu's film? It had a really long title, but no one calls it that.
Yeah.
Everyone calls it Birdman. So, it's a nice reference, but I think it's a bit over the top. I know it's to obviously try and get Harley Quinn in the name, I'm guessing, but I still no one's gonna call it that. Like, I don't see the point.
I mean, when you have like people going up to get tickets to the box office, no one's gonna say all that. They're just gonna call it Birds of Prey.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's a bit more of like a character identity push, for Harley Quinn. They just kind of want to make it more, especially because she's so popular coming out of Suicide Squad. I feel like they're just going to be like, they want to do that and they want to push that kind of idea and that kind of identity, and that's fine. I just feel like, kind of like Birdman, no one's going to call it that full title. Like, I don't even remember it off, like, I did it off the top of my head then. I think I got it right. It's something like that. And like, so, and I can't remember the exact word in the middle. It's like emancipation or something like that. I know that word means the separation of something, so I'm guessing that means she's broken up with the Joker at this point.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I don't see the point in it.
Yeah, like, it's a bit strange. I would have been perfectly fine if they would just called it Birds of Prey. I don't see a problem in that.
I think I would have been more happy.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't really like Suicide Squad. I like Harley Quinn, but I wasn't too hot on Harley Quinn either in this film, but that's just me. So it wouldn't, like, Birds of Prey would attract me more than this title. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean, Harley Quinn was definitely like one of the standouts coming out, like, generally. But I feel like, there were moments with her that I felt were a bit too overly pushed. Like, that scene when they're all being recruited by Rick Flag and they're all in the prison together, and she starts going on about the voices in her head.
Friggin' dancing.
Yeah, and then the voices in her head and stuff like that. I found that that joke was just not, like, I remember they put it in the trailer and it didn't land at all, and it doesn't land in the film either. But anyway, yeah. Birds of Prey. I am excited about the movie though, just because it'll be our live action interpretation of Black Canary, which is a big character for me. Huntress, Renee Montoya.
For me. I love Huntress.
Yeah, and I love Black Canary, so I'm really excited about that. Because hopefully that could lead to my Green Arrow movie that I so desperately want. But we may be talking about a certain kind of Green Arrow movie later on that's not good. So we also got a couple of trailers. We got the trailer for the Lego Movie 2, the second one, and I love this trailer. It's great, really funny. They nailed the humor once again. I mean, they introduced a new character in this trailer, so it turns out Chris Pratt is actually playing two roles. Not only is he returning as Emmett, but he's also going to be this other character who is basically just this really extreme guy who has been on all these different adventures. And what's so funny is that all of these different adventures correspond to Chris Pratt's movie biography. You have like a guy's like a raptor trainer in Jurassic World, and there's like a galaxy explorer like Star-Lord and things like that. I thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, it was a really good trailer. I'm a big Lego movie fan. Like, apart from I didn't really like Lego Ninjago. I love the TV series, so that was a letdown for me. But I love the Lego Batman. I prefer Lego Batman over the Lego movie. I love the Lego movie as well, though. This trailer just gets me more excited. I'm really, really excited for this.
Yeah, I think this looks great, and also like I love the promotional stuff they're doing as well. Like the poster that they released was really nice, really poppy. It's colourful. It pops off the screen. And also, what's really interesting is on Black Friday they released. I don't know if it's still up, but they released the first Lego film like in its entirety to YouTube, like officially
on ads. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was crazy. I was just like, what? I mean, they did it. I don't know if it's still. I assume it was probably just for Black Friday because they called it Brick Friday. But yeah, that was mental. I was just like, I can't believe like a film studio would actually do that. And obviously it was to push the hype as well, because I think all this stuff did come out on the Friday. But that was really entertaining, and I just couldn't believe all that. And yeah, but I'm super hyped for this. I'm also a big Lego fan. Like, even like before the films, like I grew up with Lego. Like I adored Lego. I just thought it was like I played with it all the time. And like, the Lego movie originally, Phil Lord and Chris Miller are incredibly funny guys. I love their writing. The Lego Batman movie was so funny, especially like just seeing all the different references, all the different DC references. Like, I love that scene in the Lego Batman movie where you just have like all the different Batman villains that no one's heard of. Like, that's brilliant. And then Lego Ninjago, like, it had its moments. It was definitely the weakest, but it was, had its moments. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about this. I can't wait to see where they go with this, and it's inevitably going to become a trilogy, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Now, the big trailer, possibly one of the biggest trailers of the year. No, not Avengers: Infinity War. We got the Lion King trailer, live action Lion King. Wow, that's the only word that comes to mind.
Man.
Is wow.
Gee. I had chills watching this.
So
Like as soon as I recognized the shots from the film, and then when like the song started kicking in,
yeah,
I was like, oh
that's when it
Jesus
kicks
Christ!
off. Yeah, I mean,
Oh
even I have to say, right, I'm not like attached to the Lion King like a lot of people are. It's not like, you know, something kind of like what we have the Harry Potter discussion. It's just not something I grew up with. It's a great film, don't get me wrong, I love it, but it's not something I have like a massive attachment to. But even I was getting chills watching this trailer, like especially like you say when the song kicks in. Oh my god, that feeling on the back of my spine was insane. And you know, this movie looks so photorealistic, and it's just going to add to so many of the moments because you know, some of the emotional moments, you know, like Mufasa's death, you know, seeing that basically in reality is going to be like the most horrific thing ever. It's just going to break like so many people.
I think I'm actually gonna like break down and freaking cry for like an hour
Yeah.
when that happens. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean,
Probably.
this is just like I can't believe what Disney have been doing over the past few years with these live action, you know, with these live action films. Like The Jungle Book, also directed by Jon Favreau, was fantastic. You know, we spoke about Dumbo last week in the trailer for that. That looks great.
Beauty and the Beast. Shout out
Yeah,
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the
I
Beast
love
as well.
Beauty and the Beast.
That was a great film, and I think you know, Lion King is going to be another adaptation. Obviously, this one I think has got a lot. This is easily like the one that's got the most traction behind it. This is the one that everyone is like super excited about, and I think
Don't forget about Aladdin.
Oh yeah, there's Aladdin as well. Like there's so many. Disney's gonna make so much money next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still waiting on Aladdin. Like I need a bit. I know you're a bit more close to the set and things, so you've seen things. But
Yeah, I was on the set.
you've seen things. But
So-
for me, I've only seen that teaser, so I need a bit more. I like the teaser. Don't get me wrong. I thought the teaser looked cool, but I need a little bit more before I can start getting excited. But this was fantastic. I'm so on board with this. You know, I think Jon Favreau is an excellent director. I'm completely on board with him, no matter what he does. You know, because after this, he's going to be moving on to The Mandalorian, which is awesome. So I think this is great. All for it, and the poster is just like beautiful as well. So many nice shots in this as well. So that is the end of the news. As we said, not really that many news pieces, but we'll move into our reviews now. Ben has not seen any of these this week, but to be honest, you're not missing out on much. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't rush yourself to go see any of these. So just let me grab a notepad quick while I get my review notes. So, The Girl in the Spider's Web, directed by Fede Alvarez. So this is the new Dragon Tattoo movie, starring Claire Foy as Elizabeth Salander. This is a very weird one. The Girl in the Dragon's Tattoo, obviously you have the Swedish original trilogy, which, you know, I haven't seen, but I think that, you know, they have quite a large audience, people who really love those films. And then obviously we've got the David Fincher version, which I have seen. Now, this movie is supposed to be like the continuation of that movie. Although David Fincher does not return for this, that's clearly what they were going for. However, the biggest problem with this film is where The Girl in the Dragon's Tattoo was a very dark, very suspenseful thriller. This is just a straight up action film, and that is a huge problem. And the action, not only is it badly directed, like I have to say, I'm very disappointed in Fede Alvarez as a director. It was very quick cut, it was very all over the place, you can't see what's going on a lot of the time. But on top of that, just the action in general, like it shouldn't have been the focus of this film. They shouldn't have taken it down this path, because it just completely compromises everything that the franchise stands for. And it really disappointed me in that sense. It didn't feel like a Dragon Tattoo movie at all. It was way too clean. Like, the Fincher version is like a horrific film to watch. Like, it's disgusting. But this film feels way too sanitized in comparison. And to me, I felt that this was Sony completely pandering to the audience because, you know, they wanted to make this film a bit more mainstream and a lot more away from the niche. And I feel like the way they did that was saying, okay, let's make this an action film. And in doing that, they, like I say, sacrificed a lot of what the franchise stands for. And I think that was a massive mistake on their part. And it's funny because, you know, pandering to the audience, wanting to make it more mainstream, this movie's made no money. So it's completely backfired. So, yeah, like I say, it didn't feel like a Dragon Tattoo movie. What it did feel like was a Bond movie. Even down to the opening title sequence of the movie has a Bond-style opening. You know what I mean by that? Like, you know, the Bond movies have their opening where they have the Bond song and things like that. they had the exact same thing going on in this film. Like, they had the exact same style of thing. And it wasn't even like when Deadpool 2 did it, when they did it as a parody. Like, this is them trying to genuinely be like that, and it doesn't work. And I honestly would not be surprised, given the script of the film, given the plot of the film, how generic it is, the characters involved, what they all do in the movie. I would not be surprised at all if this was an unused Bond script. That's because this is also produced by MGM, and that's also the studio that produces Bond. So that's no coincidence in my mind. I think that they obviously had this script lying around. Maybe this was an old script they had for Bond 25. I don't know, but they just, to me, this felt too familiar, like a Bond movie, that they just found this old script that they weren't going to use anymore, and they turned it into this film, and it shows really obviously, even down to like this. I remember it even feels like a Mission Impossible movie at times, which is ridiculous. Like, one of the posters I've seen literally is like a carbon copy of one of the posters from Mission Impossible Fallout, and kind of like Quantum of Solace as well. So it's really ridiculous how much this movie just has an identity crisis in that sense. Product placement is awful in this film. Amazon is a big one that stands out. Lamborghini is a incredibly ridiculous one. Like, there's this scene where they have to, try and stay incognito. They have to escape from this thing, and they have to try and do it in a stealthy way. So Elizabeth Salander decides the best thing to do is to get in a Lamborghini Aventador. Like, it made no sense. And then you had Sony themselves chipping in with like this camera that's like incredibly important to the plot, and it's a Sony branded camera, like really obviously with a massive Sony logo strapped across the side of it. Absolutely ridiculous. And then the cast overall, I did enjoy. Like, Lakeith Stanfield, I think, is really good in this. And Claire Foy, who I think is a wonderful actress, but Claire Foy, like, she just came across incredibly miscast to me. Like, I think that her version of Elizabeth Salander, again, just didn't feel right, and it felt like she was in the wrong movie. And I don't know if that comes down to, again, the change in direction. I don't know if that comes down to her not exactly being prepared for this different kind of role that they had prepped for her, but I don't know. I think she felt a bit miscast. I think it could have been somebody else. I think there maybe been a better choice. Because again, it didn't come across as dark as I was expecting. And I feel like maybe she could have done it, but again, I think the script isn't there for that. And also, I have to say that Sony, I mean, everyone has a go at them for this, but they're so bad for putting their final shots in trailers. They do it again in this film. Like, pretty much the final shot is in the trailer. And it's just like, what's even the point? Like, they did it in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they've done it in Venom, they do it here. It's just ridiculous to that point. Honestly, I did not have a good time with this film. And like, what are the things that they could have really benefited from, which again ruins in the trailer, is the main villain in the film, and again, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer, is Elizabeth Salander's sister. I feel like that would have worked a lot better if they would have kept that for the film. It would have at least added something. But otherwise, this movie just has no surprises. It's boring to watch. It's got a bit of an identity crisis going on. The product placement's ridiculous. You know exactly where the movie's going. It's so predictable. It's not suspenseful at all. It's just ridiculous. And even like, this movie tries so hard to be an action movie, and it fails at that as well because the action is so poorly handled. I didn't like this film at all. Like, at all. I thought it was pretty poor.
Yeah, from the trailers, like, I'm going to see this film. I actually skipped a screening to go see Assassination Nation, but as soon as I saw those guys with the snipers, I was like, fuck that.
Yeah, it's just, I can't believe...
cheesy dialogue, it seemed like. I don't know.
Yeah, I just can't believe that they made this and how different it is. It's ridiculous. The only real thing I really liked about this movie is that Stephen Merchant's in it, and that's only because I love Stephen Merchant. That's just like he's not even particularly that great in it. Like, and again, he comes across as incredibly miscast. I just enjoy watching him. So like, that's not even a positive for the movie. That's just a personal thing.
Was he funny in the film?
No, he's not even funny. Like, he plays a very serious, dramatic role. And not even dramatic like in the sense of Logan, where Logan was, because he still had like a funny edge to him. It's not even like that. And like, he's a father to this little boy, and you don't buy it at all. I just don't buy that whatsoever, and it doesn't work. And you have like this massive chemical weapon, and the key is a little thing that the boy remembers. So this is how good of a father Stephen Merchant is. He basically put the key to the largest chemical weapon to his kid. Idiot. Right, moving on. Robin Hood, not much better. This one, okay, I was kind of excited about it in a way when they first announced it. I liked the idea of a Robin Hood movie starring Taron Egerton. I liked that concept. Execution, not so much. The opening of this film has a narration style that is quite frankly weird, because you have the character of Friar Tuck come out and he's directly talking to the 2018 audience saying, "Oh, this ain't yo daddy's Robin Hood." And it's just, it sets you off from there. You know exactly where the movie's going from that point. You just like, it just sets you up entirely. So I don't know if that's what they were going for, but whatever. So what amazes me about this film more than anything is that it manages to get some really weak performances out of otherwise great actors. Like Taron Egerton, who I think is an incredibly likable actor. I love him in Kingsman. I love him in Eddie the Eagle. Can't wait to see him in Rocketman. I think he's fantastic. He comes across incredibly dull and incredibly boring in this film, which I think is a real achievement on the filmmaker's part, the fact that that's able to happen. And again, like, you don't buy him as Robin Hood because he's kind of like, he's ex-military and then he comes back and then, you know, he's kind of disgraced by society and he's kind of, his death is forged and he comes back and he tries to take up, but then I don't really understand the motivation of why he's robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. I don't see where that motivation came from in the movie. If he just like, if he was going after the sheriff of Nottingham, that'd be fair enough. But and he does do that. But in terms of the classic Robin Hood stuff, you know, taking from the rich, giving to the poor, I don't know where that motivation comes from. Jamie Foxx, who I think is incredible, like if you see him in Collateral or Ray, I think Jamie Foxx is a great actor. Again, has nothing to do in this movie and is absolutely wasted, which is a real shame. And then Ben Mendelsohn, who, I've got to be honest, I'm getting sick of Ben Mendelsohn as villains. Like, I feel like he needs to switch up. I mean, he's fine in this movie, but he just basically just screams all the time. He's basically a more over-the-top version of his character from Ready Player One. And that's just not fun to watch anymore. Like, I'm worried for his character in Captain Marvel, to be honest. I just think Ben Mendelsohn, he's been typecasted for too long. And obviously, it's not really his fault, but I'm kind of getting sick of that whole regime, and I kind of want that to be done with now. And he's just incredibly over the top. Also, this has an incredibly mixed tone. Like, I don't understand what they were going for with this, because they have it, obviously, it's set in the past, set in the 1400s, but then they try and make it so modernized. And I could see what they're going for, but like, I could see the idea, but it's so muddled in the interim that you can't actually see where it got lost, because there's a moment like where it happens and you see that these bows, because they're obviously using classic weaponry, bow and arrows, things like that, and they fire like machine guns. It's not realistic at all. It's not fun to watch because you're just watching it thinking this just doesn't happen. You don't buy it at all. You just sat there like, this is just ridiculous. They're just doing this for the sake of making cool action. And, you know, again, making cool action is good, but you need to make it, you know, fit in terms of your film, in terms of its script, and it doesn't do that. There is some horrendous dialogue in this film. Absolutely awful, cheesy stuff. And again, mix that with the poor performances, that's not a good mixture at all. And going back to the action, there's an incredible overuse of slow motion, which you can kind of get that from the trailers, but seeing it here, it's really jarring, and I think that a lot of the moments just come across as really forced. Like, it has that 300 editing style where it goes really fast to really slow, really quickly, without much warning, and again, it comes off as really jarring. It's like stop, start, and it feels like the pacing suffers for that. And although there is some cool action moments, just purely as an archer myself, like seeing, you know, him like diving off things, shooting arrows, things like that, and doing all these different twists and turns in the air while he's shooting, it is cool, but it's just like, and it's fun to watch from that standpoint. But then eventually when you realise that there's these machine bullet style arrows again, you just completely lose it. And again, if you want to watch some cool, you know, arrow fighting, just watch like Hawkeye in the Avengers or something. You get basically the same thing. Or go watch Arrow, whatever you want to do. And speaking of Arrow, and also more specifically the Dark Knight trilogy, the amount that this movie steals from that is ridiculous. I mean, the story is exactly the same in the sense you have a rich billionaire playboy, he goes away for a few years, he comes back, he's a vigilante, he goes and does all this stuff, very similar to Batman, very similar to Arrow, and, you know, I just can't believe the way they did it. Tonally, they try very Batman Begins, and even down to the way he does it, like, you know, you have your typical version of Robin Hood, and then you have the Robin Hood character himself, and then you have, like, the mask of Robin Hood, you know, the guy who he pretends he's, like, this playboy sort of character, like Bruce Wayne did in Batman Begins. Even the score in this movie is incredibly reminiscent of Hans Zimmer's score from the Dark Knight trilogy, which it's almost like it's not even like an homage; it's pretty much stealing it. Like honestly, if you ever go watch this film, wait until the end credits because like if you just want, I don't know if you want to be annoyed, but if you want to be annoyed, just go and listen to the end credit score because you'll be blown away by how similar it is to the Dark Knight. So again, very very shamelessly steals from other properties without any kind of remorse whatsoever. Also, the romance between Robin Hood and Maid Marian is terrible. Like again, it feels so artificial. It feels very fake. It doesn't feel like it comes across well at all, and I didn't enjoy that either. So yeah, again, not a great film either. I've had a pretty bad run of films recently. I've had about 3 or 4 in a row. I need something good. I'm so glad Creed 2 comes out this week.
Yeah. Oh my god, man! Looking at that trailer, right? I liked the first teaser, and then when I saw that first trailer, we did like an episode on it. Oh my god, this looks like shit.
I mean, even me, like, I always try and look at the positives and things. I always try to, pull the positives. I'm very positive. I don't like to be overly negative, but like, these 2 films, they're not good. I can't defend them. Like, I can't. They're not good. Like, Robin Hood is poorly made, right, on all levels, and the fact he gets poor performances out of those particular actors is a crime. The Girl in the Spider's Web isn't necessarily poorly made from a film standpoint. The action is, but not mostly overall. But the way that film just completely subverts expectations, and not in a good way, is, again, pretty much a crime to that franchise. So, not a good week, I'm afraid, but I do have high hopes for this week with Creed 2, Wreck-It Ralph. So,
Wreck-It Ralph, seen that.
Yeah. Do you want to mention that quickly? I mean, don't go too in depth. We'll do that next week.
We'll talk about it properly next week. But Wreck-It Ralph, Ralph Breaks the Internet, is a very solid film. I think it's very enjoyable. There's, I think, a little bit of it's a tad boring, like just little elements. One character kind of scrapes on you a little bit, but that's like about it. But there's some like really, really amazing moments, especially little spoiler here with the Disney princesses and the musical aspect. I thoroughly enjoyed, even though it's not a musical. There's like little bits that really reminisce of other Disney films, and I love the self-referential like aspect of it. And I would say it's just a really fun film to see. So when it's out in the UK, obviously it's out in America right now, I would definitely recommend go see it, especially if you got brothers, sisters, sons or daughters or whatever. I would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Ralph Breaks the Internet. I think that the trailers so far have absolutely blown me away, so I think it looks great. And then for me, this week is Creed 2. I'm so excited about that. I love Creed. So I'm so down for this film. And again, I'm so desperate for quality right now. Like, I need something good. And I really hope, because I've literally, with Fantastic Beasts, which I know you enjoyed, but I hated, and then Girl in Spider's Web, this, Robin Hood, I need Creed 2. Like, Creed 2 is the movie I need right now more than anything else. So I'm sure I'll end up gushing about that next week. But yeah, what a week.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I need to get to award season, to be honest. Like, it needs to chug along. It can't come quick enough. I mean, to be fair, December looks alright. Like, December, in terms of like films like Aquaman. Obviously, I'm really excited about Bumblebee as well. Films like that, but I really need to get to award season. I need movies like Vice and things like that to come out. Plus, I actually have found out I'll actually be getting... Have you seen Beautiful Boy? Have you seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, well, what's good about that is we can maybe chuck that in this year because I'll actually be seeing that early. So I've got a screening of that. I think it's like in the second week of December. So yeah, I'll be seeing that fairly early, which is good. So hopefully award season will become a bit quicker for me. So anyway, with all that said, that brings us to the end of this episode. We know it's a bit of a shorter one, but again, like the news, there was just not really much to talk about due to Thanksgiving. But anyway, with all that being said, thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Real Movie Talk. If you did, make sure you give it a like and make sure you share it around with anybody else, any other movie fans who you think may enjoy this type of content. And as always, I've been Deck.
I've been Ben.
I'll edit that. It's fine.
Yeah, it glitched out.
And we hope to see you guys again next week.